What is up, guys? I'm gonna do a video, take you guys through a full hot wax and edge tune. We're gonna be in southern Utah for like 5 days, so we're gonna be snowboarding pretty hard. So time to give this thing a tune up. Like, how often do you wax your board? Do you wax it every time? Do you wax it every other? Blah blah blah. So it really depends on like what conditions that you're in. So one thing I always look for when it's time for a wax, you can kind of see the edges get really hazy. They start to get like white after maybe 3-4 runs or 3-4 days. You can kind of expect that you're gonna need to wax it. So first thing we're gonna do, pull the bindings off. Now you guys don't have to pull them off all the way. You can just loosen them up, you know, and leave them on if you don't feel like it. But we're gonna take them all the way off. Just take some, I like to clean under the bindings anytime you take them off. Just get all that dirt and grime out of there. And one thing I do on all my boards, you'll see I got a little Sharpie right here where I like my reference. So after messing with it a little bit, you know, you kind of tinker around with how you want to be set up. First thing we're gonna do is, last time we were out, it was very icy, and I haven't tuned this thing in forever. Just have, it's like a $15 tool, you know, it's got 2 different angles on it. It's got 88 degrees and it's got 90 degrees. And it gives it a decent tune. I mean, if it's a really old board and you haven't done it in forever, then, you know, take it to the pro and they'll do an actual legit tune and grind on it. But this will do fine for what we're doing. And just a few passes and you can already feel the difference on it. Definitely feels a lot sharper. So we're not going to go too sharp because, again, it's a park board. I don't really want super sharp edges. That way you don't ever catch on a rail or a box or something. Toss that back in the box. Usually you'll get a kit, and if you get a wax kit, it'll come with a brush like this. This is just horsehair and nylon. Give it a scrub before you clean it or wax it. Just knock any dirt or grime off it. You can do that. Takes a lot of elbow grease. I like these. If you have a drill, just buy this thing. Buy the super wide one, the widest one you can find for your price range. And this is just nylon. It comes with also some horsehair brush. So a much finer brush. What we'll do is we're just gonna hit it real quick. All right, now we'll give it another little wipe down. Got it kind of cleaned off and everything. A lot of that white, kind of cloudy, hazy spot on the edge is gone now because of the brushing. Now you can really see the gouges and chips and stuff. I don't have anything super gnarly to show you guys any P-Tex on, but we'll probably do that later on this season. What we're gonna do now, before we give it a clean, just an iron. I've had this sucker for a couple years now, and it has been awesome. I put it at like 140. You'll know if it's too hot when you put your wax on and it's smoking like crazy. Turn it down. Do not burn the wax. You don't want to burn it. So what we'll do, give this a little spray. And this is just all-purpose cleaner. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you have to use a citrus-based snowboard base cleaner thing and blah, blah, blah. Well, that stuff's expensive, and I really haven't noticed any difference with it. Just make sure to dry it off really good before you put wax on it. You definitely want a dry, clean base before you do any wax. All right, so love these irons. This thing's already hot, so you can kind of see some smoke. Not sure if you can see it, but there's a little bit of smoke coming off it. It tells me it's nice and hot. So there's two methods. Everybody always argues on the internet and is like, oh, drip or crayon. So if you do the drip method, I'll do half the board with the drip method. When you drip, you are going to be scraping a lot more. So if you don't mind scraping and put it in that elbow grease, by all means, just drip it, flood the base with oil, with wax, and then you can scrape it off. I mean, it's not a big deal. So all you're going to do, take your iron, just hold the wax on it, and you're just going to let it melt, drip it all over. Make sure you get all the way down to the edges, and then you would just start working that in. So the crayon on, or the wipe on. So all you're gonna do, make sure you're holding the iron over your board, because you're still gonna melt a little bit of wax on it. All you do is basically just touch it and then smear it. Touch it, smear it. A lighter coating of wax, so you're not gonna have to scrape as much. Alright, so we are all dripped on. So now what we're going to do is take your iron, and we're just going to slowly start heating it up. Just keep it moving around. You don't want to stay in one spot for too long. All you're trying to do is melt the wax. So you do not want to burn your board. If you leave it on there too long, you could delam your board. You could burn the plastic on the base coat. So just keep smearing that around. You'll see little dry spots in there. Just keep going. Alright, so we are good and melted. Let this wax cool off and impregnate the board with wax, and then we'll come back and scrape it. Alright, so we are back. It's been about like 30 minutes or so. You know, just let it cool down. Now it's all super hard to the touch. So what we're going to do is bust out our trusty scraper. Or you just keep it on an angle, and just keep going. Try not to put, I mean, you can put as much pressure as you want, but let the scraper do the work for sure on that. I'm going to get to it, so enjoy a little time lapse. So we are fully scraped. What we'll do now is we're going to brush it again. So you can either go with the hand brush or drill brush. If you're going to use the hand brush, just make sure you're going tip to tail. A lot of elbow grease when you use the hand brush. We have the technology, so we'll use the drill. And just wipe everything off. Get all that little dust off it. Freshly waxed board. Look at that. Alright, so what we'll do now, we'll grab our bindings, set our bindings back on, and then we're all finished up. Alright, and having those little handy dandy reference points sharpied out on the board just makes life a little easier, you know. Alright, and if you guys are going to use a drill, just be careful that you don't like go crazy on this thing and give it a bunch of ugga-duggas. Just get them snug, and then be like one little tighten. So this is this is actually a 152. I normally ride like a 158 or like a 156 wide, but we found this one for dirt cheap, and this is strictly the park only board right now. So I don't care if it gets destroyed. We could check a few things, make sure your high back is tightened up. Oh, need a different screwdriver. Just make sure your stuff is all tight and it's not wiggling around. All your screws and everything, so that way you're not making a trip down the mountain with one boot, you know. Make sure everything's nice and snug. Sweet. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. This one is all ready for snowboarding this weekend. That's how you wax a board.